Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health Radio and TV. I'm your host, Sara Banta. I'm a health coach, natural supplement expert, and a busy mom of 3 teenagers. I believe your body does want to and is capable of rebuilding and healing itself, regardless of what chronic disease you may have. And I'm here for you to answer your questions, bring you innovative and cutting-edge technology and health solutions to empower you and your ability to reach your optimal state of health. Today, my guest is back, and we will be talking about the importance of frequency healing and regeneration. And if anyone knows my history, they know that my son was 9 years old with leukemia. He is now a healthy 19-year-old who is living life like a 19-year-old should. And I have overcome all of my chronic health diseases as well. And what's so great now is I'm now focused on not just anti-aging, but actually reverse aging. And the irony is aging is a condition associated with a higher risk of these metabolic diseases most people are trying to reverse. So in actuality, as you are anti-aging or reversing age, you are eliminating your propensity to get a chronic disease. And that is what's so exciting about what we're doing today. So as you're reversing that age, or you're having your biological age go backwards while your chronological age ticks forward, then your risks of all of these diseases diminish and you'll live longer, but you're also going to have a higher quality of life, which is your health span, not just your lifespan. So when we look at aging, what is it? It is it's caused by an increase of oxidative stress and inflammation. And what leads to that? Insulin resistance and toxicity. As we talk about these stem cell activation patches with our guests, we're going to address these issues that cause aging. Before we do, I want to talk about my group coaching that is open to all of you, regardless of who you are in pounds, increased mental energy, physical energy, and ability to intermittent fast, better sleep, less moodiness, improved cellular permeability, which is also known as the phase angle of the cells. And that's the ability for the cells to let the toxins out and the nutrients in the cells. If we are not healthy at the cellular level, we're not healthy. And that's what we're going to also jump into today with our guest as well. The difference between me and any other group coaching is I provide the most cutting edge scalar frequency enhanced supplements that work synergistically with each other and work synergistically with the stem cell patches we're going to be talking about. Your body does not experience those flu-like symptoms at all, and you truly do feel great day one. And with our guest, we are going to be talking about how to optimize the stem cell patches with supplements, with diet, with lifestyle. It's all working synergistically together. It's not just one magic pill, but we are trying to give it the easiest way so that you literally feel great day one and say, I can do this. And so many people start a quote unquote diet or cleanse and they give up in 3 days because they're hangry, they have no energy, they're getting headaches. That doesn't happen when you're working with me. So there you go. If you're interested, just leave a comment below, or you can check out the website, acceleratedhealthproducts.com. That is the sponsor of this show. So as you support my website, I'm able to bring awesome guests like David Schmidt, who we have today. We have David, who is the inventor of LifeWave Technology and the founder and CEO of LifeWave. His experience in business and product development spans over 30 years and includes a formal education in management information systems and biology at Pace University. The LifeWave Technology was born out of 3 years of intense research by David into the concept of being able to naturally increase energy and stamina through elevating fat burning, utilizing wireless communication to the human body via phototherapy. The LifeWave technology is now available to all of us, which we are so grateful for. Welcome, David. How are you today?
Hi, Sara. Thanks so much for having me. Really a pleasure to be able to have the opportunity to spend some time with you again.
This is why I love my job. Honestly, I get the chills just thinking about, number one, I don't think people realize what we have in you right now. You know, people always say the really famous inventors and people in science like Albert Einstein really become famous after they're dead. And I hate to think that your celebrity nature is going to have to wait until then, but you truly are on the same level as Nikola Tesla and Albert Einstein. And we are just so blessed to have you on earth and doing God's work in the way you're doing it. So I just want to say that before we start. And I absolutely love everything you do, promote within LifeWave and without, because you truly are an amazing human being. So wanted to let you know that.
That's very kind. Thank you very much. And, you know, if you don't mind, I would like to take this opportunity. We're just releasing this out on social media today, but we have a statement that we're making about what's going on in the world right now over in Ukraine. We're working with our leaders in Poland and Romania, and LifeWave is going to be committing a significant amount of money to the Red Cross and other organizations in Europe to provide relief and aid and get people medical aid, food and shelter. So do want to let our LifeWave community know that that's something that we're doing right now.
David, you're bringing up something that is very close to my heart, as I have a very close friend with family members, granddaughter specifically in the Ukraine. And at the moment she is in a bunker. Her city has been bombed and it's very scary. It's surreal. Everything that's going on is very surreal. And so I appreciate what you're saying, and I appreciate what you're doing through LifeWave on a humanitarian level.
Well, you know, there's some far-reaching implications to the work of energy medicine and what potential impact we can potentially have on world peace. When we think about the biochemistry that is involved in feeling good and happy and feelings of love, for example, oxytocin is perhaps the most well-known hormone that is associated with love. There's certainly other hormones that are feel-good chemicals, right? Beta endorphins, dopamine, serotonin. But the interesting thing about this is that, and where this could go in the future, is that our patches are indeed wireless technology. They work with light. They stimulate the body with light. And this is, in a way, not very much different than laser communications. Well, what would be the difference of broadcasting a signal globally to cause an increase in oxytocin levels in the brain of humans so that we would feel love instead of hatred? And, you know, what effect would that have on humanity? So what I've asked our LifeWave members to do is pray for our enemies, pray for Vladimir Putin, that he will have his heart open to love and peace, that we're all children of God, and that we should be loving one another instead of launching these senseless aggression, which only end up killing innocent people. So I like to look at some of the far-reaching potential of energy medicine work and the impact that we can have for the better on the planet.
Well, if you take it back into layman's terms, we're talking about frequency healing. And why could this not be true when radio waves go across the globe, right? Cell phone usage is across the globe. It's the same thing. That's all frequency based. So as you're talking about prayer and increasing our frequency as a human body, as a group, as one, we can raise the frequency of the whole earth. And the power of prayer, there's science behind it. There's science behind everything that David just talked about. It may sound voodoo to some of you, but it is essentially what the the patches are based on, what the scalar frequency that I put in my supplements is based on, what different devices and healing devices that are out there are based on. And I know, for instance, Putin is now, he's knocked out television towers in the Ukraine, and he's going after the cell phone and the internet. Well, Elon Musk, hopefully, he's said that he has put up satellites to help out. And so we're talking about frequency on a grand stage, right? From satellites and stuff. But why can't we be the tools as well and be a part of that solution? So I'm 100% in agreement with what you're talking about, David. So,
yeah, and there's some interesting ways to think about this, is that our brains and our nervous systems are actually transmitters and they're receivers. So a good way for people to think about this is that, and it's especially true when you have children, but you can have a special connection to one of your parents or a best friend or certainly a significant other. This happens all the time with myself, between myself and my daughter, that we'll be thinking of one another, and then one of us picks up the phone and calls the other. Well, this is not anything to do with a coincidence, is that the brain waves are in sync. And speaking of Tesla, one of the things that he showed was that longitudinal waves traveled through the earth and actually traveled 1.6 times the speed of light. And the human body will produce longitudinal waves. It's a very special type of wave. And I have over 70 patents on devices that will produce longitudinal waves because they're used in healing. So, but this is the amazing thing about the body, is that if we can create technology like the patches, we can induce signals which will increase the production of certain peptides like GHK, AHK, glutathione, carnosine. And now we have a new way of improving health and wellness, as opposed to having to rely on pharmaceuticals.
So you just touched on a whole batch of questions that I have, because I have so many clients that with what's going on, the level of depression and mood disorders has increased significantly. Part of that is due to the EMFs and the radiation and just everything that's going on that dumbs us down or depresses our brain waves. And with the patches, a lot of people are seeing an enhanced mood, that their brain fog is lifting, that their connection to their higher self, to God, is much more intact. Just like you're talking about you and your daughter being on the same wavelength. This is all connected. And so as we are looking at our physical health to directly improve our mental and spiritual health, it is all intertwined. And I want to touch on the detoxing of radiation and heavy metals and 5G. And I know that the new X49 has been able to help with that. Is that a great place to start?
Sure. Let's start with detoxification, and we can talk about the subject of how are we going to protect ourselves from this overwhelming amount of synthetic man-made radiation that's in the environment today. So, of course, many people are focused on 5G, but we should also be concerned with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and keeping those things at a minimum. So first, let's discuss some baseline information here. When we look at a microwave oven operates at 2.4 gigahertz. So the issue with this is 2.4 gigahertz is the frequency that causes the water molecule to rotate. And as you put anything with water into a microwave oven, the reason why it causes the food to heat up is that it's creating friction in the water molecule. Dr. Thornton Streeter, who is an expert in the energy medicine industry, he operates a clinic in India. We've done a number of clinical studies with Dr. Streeter. One of the things he looks at using some of his equipment is food before and after going into a microwave. So for example, he'll take an orange, he will take an image. Let's say one technique is with Carillion photography, and then he will go ahead, put it in the microwave, take another image, and you can see that all of the life energy came out of that piece of fruit. So it's important for people to recognize that the communications industry today is using 2.4 gigahertz frequencies in cell phones. So it's the same frequency that's used in a microwave oven. So it's no surprise that these devices are going to cause localized heating and trauma in brain tissue. This is very well established now. So the question is, how do we protect ourselves? It's my personal belief that when we were created, we were given the ability to adapt as part of survival, and that these things that we're going through today were all predicted or seen very, very early on, and human beings were designed with the ability to survive. So, the question then is, how do we upgrade ourselves? Well, we can work with our natural living system, and we turn inward and look at what naturally occurring peptides are capable of neutralizing radiation. Two of the most basic peptides are glutathione and carnosine. So by keeping our glutathione levels elevated and by keeping our carnosine levels elevated, we're going to be protecting tissue in the brain, the heart, muscles, and just about everywhere else in the body. And there's some good independent clinical research on that. But if we want to go even further, what we had found in anecdotally as a start with the X39 patch, elevating copper peptide was found to reduce someone's exposure to ultraviolet light. And we found, again, anecdotally, people were reporting to us, I'm wearing X39 and I'm not getting a sunburn. Well, we followed that up and did in fact find literature which was showing that copper peptide, GHKCU, was capable of protecting cells from damage. There was an interesting clinical study that was shown that if you gave an injection of copper peptide to women going through radiation therapy for when they had breast cancer, they could actually protect the healthy tissue from damage from the radiation treatment. So I went one step further with this and thought, is it possible we could create and elevate a series of peptides in the skin which would interlink and create a biological Faraday cage to filter out and prevent radiation from entering the body at all? And as it turns out, of course, GHK has a sister or daughter peptide called AHK. So much like that glutathione carnosine relationship, you have GHK to AHK. And what we found in our work is that this does indeed reduce a person's exposure to 5G. Just very quickly, in one pilot study, we took people that were electromagnetically sensitive, applied the X39 and X49 patches, and found out within a matter of 2 to 3 days that electromagnetic sensitivity was either reduced or disappeared completely. So we're really excited that this is a side benefit of those products.
So are you saying that the radiation doesn't even get into the body, or is it neutralized once it is in the body?
We don't know the answer to that. What we do know is that it is reducing the impact of the radiation on our cells. So it's not creating the levels of stress that the radiation normally would. So this is an interesting point, actually, because, and it was something that you mentioned early on in your opening, is that the part of the aging process is increases in oxidative and inflammatory stress. Now, this could be caused chemically, or it could be induced with radiation. So we normally would think of something like ultraviolet light, something very, very short wavelengths, very high frequency, as damaging healthy tissue, right? X-rays, of course, are an excellent example of this. So if we can suppress or control the amounts of oxidative and inflammatory stress, then that means that radiation wouldn't have an impact. So it could be that it's simply the increased antioxidant activity in the cell, or what I tend to think is that because both of these peptides bond with copper, and copper is used in filtering radiation, it's the elevated levels of copper in the skin that's actually filtering and blocking the radiation. So it's a combination of elevated levels of intracellular antioxidants and increases in copper levels in the skin. So you get a reduction in radiation going into the body, and then suppression of oxidative and inflammatory stress. That's my thinking about it.
That makes sense. And when we talk about aging, one thing I didn't mention in the beginning was it really comes, well, I kind of did, is it comes down to our health of our cells. And what's the brain of the cell is the mitochondria and ATP. So I've been really focused on increasing ATP. That's true cellular energy. That's not your monster drink or your coffee. I know you've talked about coffee before and after exercise. And but with true cellular energy and increasing ATP and increasing the health of the mitochondria, can you discuss how the X39 and X49, and maybe even the energy enhancer, which is one of my very favorite, how they impact your mitochondrial health?
Sure. And this is actually where I started in my research, was looking at, can we use light to increase production of ATP? And of course, that's one of the energy carrying molecules in the cell. There's a number of them when we talk about age reversal that we should be looking at, and that's where my research is directed today. But what's interesting, after over 5,000 published clinical studies now on just phototherapy and photobiomodulation, what is known is that there are specific wavelengths of light that will increase ATP production. So back when I was doing this research over 20 years ago now, this literature was not available. So it was much more difficult for me to figure out. It took several years. But essentially, we know that wavelengths of 630 nanometers, 660 nanometers, 810 nanometers, among others. What they do is they trigger an increase in an enzyme called cytochrome C oxidase, which is in the electron transport chain. And this is in the final stage of that chain. And then we get elevated levels of ATP. So essentially, what's so important about this as a mechanism of action is that it means we can stimulate the skin with light, cause an increase in this enzyme, in this large protein, and as a result, increase mitochondrial function by elevating ATP. So that's exciting from the perspective that this is going to improve overall health, detoxification, elevated fat burning, but the methodology opens up the door to age reversal. And so it means that we can use light strategically to increase certain peptides or certain molecules in the cell, which reset genes to a more youthful state. And over time, as the cells divide, they divide as younger, healthier cells. So the future is incredible because it means that through energy medicine, we can achieve things that in the pharma model, I don't believe are going to be possible without some very serious toxic effects. Namely, energy medicine field will be the first and the best way to achieve age reversal.
Amazing. Well, with the benefits that are listed and are talked about from the X49, we've got the physical benefits that people are loving, the fat burning, the muscle building. I can tell you in my mid 40s, it is difficult to maintain muscle mass. I've been an athlete all my life, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there going, what I did before wasn't working so great. And I put on the X49 and I have increased my muscle mass significantly. And I can also tell you my endurance and my stamina during my workouts is much higher. And now I can rival my daughters that are extreme athletes. So
Awesome.
they can't shame me anymore. But I have noticed a big difference, and I've seen it in clients and just the studies that you have shown also, just so everyone knows. This stuff, there's clinical studies behind it. There's science behind it. Everything is backed. I'm just telling you my personal experience. But David, why don't you talk about the benefits, not just in muscle building, fat burning, but also the brain health, which is also super important to most people and as they're aging, brain fog, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, all of those diseases, and even just depression. How are the X39 and X49 working on those areas?
Yeah, so I think first important thing would be to mention that we're a wellness product. So we never make any claims about treating any types of medical conditions. Certainly anyone that is currently suffering with a medical disorder, if they wanted to use the patches, we believe that they're safe because there's no toxic chemicals going into the body, but they would need to seek the approval of their doctor. So with that disclaimer out of the way, our interest in this as a company, of course, today is age reversal. And what we want to look at is how can we not only increase someone's lifespan, but also their health span, which you mentioned earlier. And so this is to give people a picture that in terms of their cognition and their physical levels of performance, when we're talking about exceeding the biological limit today of maybe 120, 130 years old, you won't look like you're 120 or 130. As a matter of fact, when people reach 150 and beyond, they'll look somewhere in their 30s. And when you realize how this is possible, the only way to get there is if we're reversing the age of the cells. So this is all to say that cognition is something that's extraordinarily important because we want to be able to keep people active and have them lead productive lives, whatever that means to that individual. If someone wants to stay working, they should be able to do that physically and mentally. So there's a few things that happen in the brain that should be of concern to us. First thing, there's certainly a trend to the brain shrinking as every cell or every major area of the body, but in the brain specifically, there starts to become a decrease in the amount of DHA, the omega-3 fatty acids. So in terms of diet, which I know you're very concerned about and you coach people on, having people get omega-3s or DHA seems to be an important step in protecting the health and cognition of the brain. But, beyond that, what can we do with light therapy? Well, we did a study back around, we initiated around 2010, and this was with Dr. Tom and Helen Budzinski, and it was looking at carnosine. Now, we were, as a company, interested in carnosine as a peptide because it had been shown to increase lifespan in mammals by between 30 and 40%. And what wasn't known back then, that's known today, is that carnosine protects the telomeres from shrinking. It won't actually lengthen the telomeres. We did find a way to do that eventually in humans. But carnosine will protect the telomeres from shortening. So this could effectively mean, this has been done in mice, but effectively means if you keep carnosine levels elevated throughout your life, you may live 30 to 40% longer. So that's pretty darn exciting. The other thing that came out of the study that was done in mice is that they didn't age until the very end of their lives. So they stayed young, youthful, productive throughout their lives. And cognition was a part of this. So when we did our study with carnosine, what we found was that in people over the age of 60, in only 30 days, they could increase the speed at which their brains were processing information, their short-term and their long-term memory, and of course, their overall focus. This went to an entirely new level when we came out with X39. We do studies with Dr. Gaetan Chevalier, who appeared at our first X39 conference, and he shared the results of a multi-channel EEG study, which again confirmed that people in their 60s and 70s could reverse natural age-related cognitive decline by activating stem cells with copper peptide. So this is exciting because it means that, number one, not only can we protect our cognition, but number two, people say, well, I'm already 70. What do I do? Well, there's still hope. You can restore and reclaim your cognition. So that's exciting.
What's so great is the studies that you're talking about are just focused on one thing. And as you and I both promote intermittent fasting, a low carb diet, an importance of iodine for the brain and the body, all of these different biohacks, sleep, obviously, hydration, and then not just carnosine, but add in the X39, add in the X49, add in glutathione. I mean, I know you've done some studies on one or two patches combined together, but is there a study where you're doing all of these things at once and how they are synergistically reversing age? I mean, I don't think there's studies out there that have put together what you promote: lifestyle patches, diet, supplements, all of these things in one. And so the possibilities are endless, let alone one thing I wanted to touch on is the X49, as we're going to talk about in a minute, promotes muscle building. Well, muscle has a direct correlation to longevity. You have to have muscle mass as you grow older to increase your risk or increase your longevity in general. So why don't we talk about how that just as a sidebar increases longevity?
So this is interesting. Muscle and bone are piezoelectric, meaning when you put them under stress, they will generate an electrical field. Just like a piezoelectric crystal, like quartz or Rochelle salts will. There is a form of exercise called Qigong, a number of different ways of practicing this. But as an example, let's say that you were just going to stand in a stationary position without moving with the knees bent slightly. And, or you could do it a little bit more extreme. You could put your back up against the wall and put your thighs at parallel to the floor. But what you'll feel in a very short period of time is the stress that's on the muscle fibers. There's no movement involved, but your body is clearly doing work. Well, what's going on when you place a constant stress on the muscle fiber? You're generating an electrical field, and this will attract calcium ions over to the bone, increasing bone density. So this is all to say that when we think about where the stem cells are located, which is in the bone marrow, and what would happen as a result of normal aging, quote unquote normal aging, right? You and I know there's no such thing as normal aging, but what people think of as normal aging, it's a result of muscle atrophy, right? Sarcopenia and bone loss. Well, what this does is it compromises the bioelectrical system in the body. So our ability to generate these electrical fields, which maintain the overall health of the cells and our communication, becomes compromised. So it is critically important that we exercise regularly, get a clean diet, drink lots of water, take supplements where needed, and use technology like the patches to maintain bone density and muscle mass, because it will have an overall positive impact on the health of the body. Gene expression is another really great example of how exercise is able to restore and maintain youth, exercise inducing positive changes in our genetics.
Exercise is very an integral part of health, whether it's taking a walk or strength training or HIIT training or Tabata like you do. And for bone health and muscles, I know many women are worried about osteoporosis, and it runs in my family as well. So I was super excited to see that the X49 helps with that as well. And one thing that we want to touch on, and I know, David, you promote healthy wild animal protein, or at least animal protein, because these peptides are chains of amino acids, and you need the building blocks in your body for these patches to work optimally. And maybe you want to touch on a vegan diet with these patches, and maybe how someone might not see the full impact of what these patches can do.
Yeah, I should say that I am a massive animal lover, and that I am a vegan at heart, but I haven't been able to make the connectivity yet to stay on a vegan diet. I love fish a little bit too much. But this is all to say that for people that are vegans and vegetarians, they could be missing certain amino acids like glycine, alanine, lysine. And these are important amino acids because structurally they're going to form the base of peptides like glutathione, GHK and AHK and carnosine. So if someone chose to be a vegan or vegetarian, they might want to consider supplementing with amino acids that would be utilized in elevating different peptides in the body. So for example, if someone was not consuming dairy products like milk or eggs on a regular basis, they could have a deficiency of cysteine, which would mean they can't make glutathione, and their immune system is going to be compromised. So here they could be thinking, well, I'm a vegan, I'm healthy, but no, your immune system might be at risk. And one of the things that was learned in research back now in 2021 about COVID was that taking supplements of NAC to elevate glutathione levels could prevent some of the more dangerous side effects of COVID. With respect to our products, when we look at someone that may not be consuming animal proteins, they could have a deficiency in lysine or alanine. Now, why should someone care about this? Well, if you're taking lysine, you can elevate collagen and decrease the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. And we want to keep our collagen levels elevated. So I'll appeal to someone's vanity, but the fact of the matter is that collagen is the most abundant protein in the body. It forms the cytoskeleton. And if we have any hopes of reversing aging, we have to keep collagen levels elevated. And we need lysine in order to do that. So again, if someone's not consuming animal proteins, they may want to supplement with lysine. And then with respect to carnosine and AHK, which is elevated by X49, the principal amino acid would be alanine, and beta-alanine supplements today are widely available. They're very inexpensive. You can't take too much of it because you could get a little bit of a skin irritation. So for most people, about 1 gram or so is sufficient per day. But alanine is principally found in meat. So a vegan or vegetarian won't get it in their diet. And you need the alanine to make peptides like carnosine and AHK if you want to get those benefits.
So what's so interesting, David, is I use a biofeedback device called the Genius Insight app, and it's right on my phone. And if anyone's ever interested, they can find it at Accelerated Health Products. I use it every day. As soon as I started the patches, all of a sudden, alanine and copper and cysteine and lysine kept coming up, saying that it was definitely triggering in my body that it's needed. So it's been very interesting. The device is definitely giving me the feedback that these patches are working. So I am so grateful for that, because it's kind of fun to be your own doctor and to be able to get that feedback. Well, we need to take a short commercial break, and we're going to be right back with David. Welcome back to Accelerated Health Radio and TV. I'm your host, Sara Banta, the owner of Accelerated Health Products. And today we have David Schmidt on talking about Lifewave Patches. David, now let's also touch in on the vanity of people who are listening, because we want to, who doesn't want to lose body fat? Who doesn't want to increase their metabolism? I know every single woman out there saying, okay, what I do today or what I did 20 years ago isn't working for me today. Is this just part of aging? And the reality is no.
Yeah, I would agree with that. First, anyone that is struggling with their weight and they don't have the experience to put together a program should work with a healthcare practitioner such as yourself in putting together a program and reevaluating their entire life and looking at what are you doing for exercise and nutrition? How are you starting your day? Can you do certain hacks and tweaks like having 500 mils of fresh, clean water when you wake up, which is shown to increase metabolism, detoxify, burn body fat, taking blood tests to know maybe where are some deficiencies, where supplements might help, and of course, again, turning to new technology. And what was remarkable is that what we found out with X49 is that it was capable of reducing body fat and increasing muscle without any special type of diet, just a very, very mild exercise program. But we don't sell this as some type of magic bullet. It really needs to be a whole comprehensive program. But the good news is that it doesn't take a lot of effort, doesn't take a lot of time, minimal commitment, and can yield some extraordinary results.
Well, that's what I love about some of the supplements I sell, and so the accelerated iodine and the accelerated keto that kicks you into ketosis, starts the fat burning, and thyroid health is imperative for mitochondrial health, which we talked about before. So using these things synergistically with the patches, the ATP production skyrockets, and you're just getting all of that fat burning, and the energy produced mentally and physically is just like people have never seen before. And I see people that are really struggling with life issues right now, but are actually doing okay because of the patches and because of some of these supplements and dietary changes. And there's a way to get through all of this. Well, David, we've got just a couple minutes and I want to give you the floor. I know there's some exciting things that you're working on, and I'm sure you can't tell us all about it, but they go beyond the patches. And if you wanted to touch on anything else you're working on.
Oh boy, we'd need another couple of hours. But I suppose what I would say is this. I've never been more excited about the future and the work that we're doing. And we have a convention that is coming up in August. And prior to the convention, I'm going to release a video. I'm putting it together now, but it's on a new technology that I've invented. I'm in the process of filing a patent on this and then turning this into a product. But we will be releasing a new product this year. It is not a patch. It is, I would say, an energy medicine product. I think I can say that without giving anything away. And it's not something that exists today. And it is a new way to tackle the aging problem and provide a age reversal solution. So I'm really excited about the phenomena and the door that this technology is opening, because now we have more than the patches as a tool to induce age reversal in the cell. And I'm very excited about the benefits. We're in pilot testing. We've gotten through, was first an anecdotal study. Then we did a formal blood test to validate that the product was producing the effect it was designed to. And now we're doing our market testing, and the feedback has been extraordinary. Everyone that uses this product loves it. And the other good thing about it is that people have experienced benefits the very first day that they use it. Wow. So we're going to continue to expand our product line with new technology and open up some doors that haven't been opened before with regards to how people think and use energy medicine. And I'm really excited about what this is.
Wow. Well, you can bet that I will be right on that one as far as being interested in everything that's cutting edge. And something that you talked about in the beginning when we were talking about the Ukraine and what God has given us the tools to overcome some of these negative things in our world. I truly believe we are always going to come up with solutions for whatever life has for us. And it's something that needs to help people drop their fears, because we have amazing inventors like you, David, leading the charge, bringing these solutions regardless of what comes our way. And, you've got bad people out there doing what they're doing. You're going to have people like David coming out and saying, well, that's fine. We can take care of that. No problem. And that's what I just love the work that you're doing and everything you stand for. I really want to emphasize that. So we're going to have you back on, especially when the new technology comes out. I know everyone's going to be excited to hear about it. And thank you again for joining us today. And thank you everybody else for joining us. And if I can do anything for you as far as your health issues or put together a protocol for you personally, you can email me directly through the website, acceleratedhealthproducts.com. Feel free to join my free group coaching for the supplements, the diet tips, the exercise, all of those lifestyle tips that enhance the efficacy of these patches. It's free. It's on Telegram. The link will be below in the notes. And you can also ask me through the website if you don't see it below the notes. If you like what you heard today, please comment on what you learned and subscribe with and share it with your friends and family. This information is so valuable. And you can also use coupon W4HC20 for 20% off site-wide. And as you support Accelerated Health Products, I'm able to bring the amazing guests to the show like David. And please say your prayers for the Ukraine and all the people involved. And David, thank you so much for what LifeWave is doing on a global level as well. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, David.
Thank you, Sara. Appreciate it.